what we decided to do with these kinds of, I will show you, you tell me, and I'll make the changes, is that it's a better way for me to teach you what to see, how to see it. I can certainly talk about images and describe what I see, and you sort of, okay, but if you are doing it, then you must really think about it. And so I thought, okay, that's a better way. So here's my first image coming up. Somebody tell me what you would do to this image to improve it, change it, or not at all. But before you do that, the major elements of a very good image is composition, number one. Number two is light. Is it any kind of special light, side light, front light, back light? Third would be, is there detail where there needs to be detail? And where is the brightest area that the viewer would see first? And is it the important area? Does it elicit any emotion? And does it have initial impact? Those are the major compositions of a good image. So anyone, tell me how you react to this image and what would you change in it?
Flip it first.
Why?
Too much space on top and on the right-hand side. It looks better. Yeah.
As I have said many times, we read left to right in our culture. So your eye now coming in from the left, really you focus right on that fish and the head of the bird. If I go back, for example, in history and show you, let me do that, how it was open, the head and the beak is really pointing you out the right-hand side. And this way, the body becomes what I call a containment, to bring you back into the image. Now, what was your other comment? What else would you do?
I would crop it a little bit. Crop it a little bit. And crop it on the left-hand side now. And then you have all that white area, behind his beak, right under the eye. All of that white, my eye goes right to the white. So we have to
burn midtones, darken midtones, burn them. I'll put it at maybe 20%. And what I recommend when you're using the burn tool is to do it a little bit at a time rather than you burn the whole thing. So that way it builds up slowly and you can see how much darkening you want to do without affecting all the other parts. If you had it at a much higher level, then it would darken it too much and then you couldn't go back each step at a time. What about this highlight on the back of the bird?
Yes.
Yes, burn it.
How about, rather than burn it, what would be another way to do it?
Crop it out.
Say again?
Crop it.
Could crop it, but rather than losing something, how about if we just draw around it and see what edit, fill, content aware might do for us? No, didn't work at all, did it?
No.
How about cloning some of the blue part of the wing, I guess, into the white?
Yes, exactly. Now, one way to control the cloning is to make a selection. I'll show you something here. I will select just the background, just in that part, and then down around here a little bit. Have just this part here showing. Oh. And then I'll do inverse, and you think, oh, this is a long way around, but it will control the area that it will control the area so that when I'm cloning, it won't clone into what I don't want. So if I just do this, then do inverse, get the clone tool, come here, pick this up and go. You see, it won't clone into the upper part because it's not selected.
Oh.
That's cool.
Does a nice job for me.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir.
when you first used content-aware fill, I believe it picked up that neutral gray background because it thought it was the best choice. But then Photoshop made an improvement on content-aware fill where you get this green mask and you can select what you want and choose what you don't, or,
Yes,
select what
yes,
you want. I think that approach to content-aware fill would have given
yes.
you exactly what
Yeah.
you just did in selecting a certain area.
Absolutely. It's just a little more sophisticated. You have to know how to brush out what you don't want and so on. So that's sort of a more advanced stage that I try to keep this presentation at a basic level, because most of the people on here aren't that knowledgeable about Photoshop. But yes, that's right. That one is a much better way to do that kind of thing. But this one,
Is that an option under content aware?
it's under edit. Let me see if I find it for you here.
So
Under
could you
edit.
could you repeat it so I can write it down, because I've got no other way of keeping a record of what you're telling me. There's no way I could keep up otherwise. What do I
Say what?
do?
Say it again.
Okay, so the way you've done it, I think is fabulous, but I'd like to be able to write that down so that I will be able to do it.
Well,
Because
this is
I
being
can-
recorded. This is being
Yes.
recorded, so you can watch it again.
Oh, I can. Oh, fabulous. Thank you. That's what I need.
You just send me a check for about $2,000 and you can record it. You can,
Oh, yeah.
John,
yes. What else would be done with this image?
the
Well, you
two
could
flare
sharpen the
spots
eye.
on the bottom,
Say again?
the two flare
Yes.
spots.
Let's remove them. So I'll use the spot healing brush. Come down, make your brush just a little bigger. You notice it's somewhat hard. So I'll soften the brush a little bit. So I don't want any hard edges. And just click on that and click again. And when you're using the spot healing brush, do it a little bit at a time. It does a better match that way to what's in the other areas. I may get rid of this one little, even though it's a Slurpee. There we go. How
What
about,
about the one to the right of that?
well,
that
that's,
little- I
that's a
know it's
little,
water, right?
yeah, it's coming off the fish, but we could take it out.
Yeah. The other one that was bothering me, and I didn't notice, I've seen this picture before, but in the very back of the bird's head, those two lines that are
Yes.
going down, what are those?
Well, I think it's part of the feathers. I don't know, but this
It
isn't my,
bothers me.
I see. Yeah, I think that's part of what's on his head there. All right,
On
you've
the
done
back of
well on
his
this.
head.
One last thing I would suggest is always look for the highlights, because I want to move on to another image. And you see the highlight near here, and I put it on midtones about 18%, and I just darken that a little bit. You see the difference of how you look at the fish
Great.
now, and up here at the top, and how much more the bird stands out from the background as I darken these. Always be aware of where highlights are in the background. You get so involved in looking at the image that you don't think about that. Look at how that, and I call this
Big difference.
three-dimensionality is what I call it. That's three-dimensionality. The bird is now standing out from the background, not just against the background.
Did you do anything to the bird's eye?
Yes. Oh boy, you guys are getting really good. Sponge tool, saturate, and I usually start at 35%, come down, and also on the sponge tool in the options bar, I have vibrance clicked. And when I do that and come down into the image, it will saturate and lighten at the same time. So I'll do just the eye a couple times and watch the difference of that to that. Very good. Very good. You could do a few more things but just sort of darkening some of this area right under the head here. Just a little bit more, those kinds of things. And now that really stands out. And let's look what we have from the beginning. You should always compare after you're doing your work. We did that, we flipped it. Now watch the difference of the changes we made, and they were not that sophisticated, the tools in Photoshop. What a difference. this is more, rather than getting in on this one to a lot, I just want an aspect of what would you do just in a sense to prepare to do changes to it? What would you do first to this image?
Prop the left in a bit, get rid of that little tree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, crop, absolutely. And what is the subject, do you think?
The horse.
The horse, of course. So why not crop in even tighter? So those trees in the background. And how about coming down from the top?
Yep, a little bit.
Because he seems to be moving. So we want to just come down so that you really are seeing the horse. See the difference of when it opened
Mhm.
to there. And I'm doing this because so many times somebody, well, I shot it and I couldn't just key in on the horse. Well, that's great because the horse is very sharp and so on. Then just think about what you want to present to the viewer. Okay, this is how you got it. That's very good. Now you're down to this. Now, three-dimensionality. But before I ask you some things, one of the things that I do a lot is I want to darken just the lower portion foreground and darken the upper portion of the sky because that pushes the eye into the image. Let me do that so you see what it is, and then we'll talk about what else you may want to do. So if I see what happens when I darken just the foreground, now that pushes you into the horse. And I'll darken just the top. That pushes you down into the horse. Maybe after you do some of that, you might want to do a little bit more here so that the horse is standing out a little bit. Good one. All right. These are fairly basic.
John,
Yeah.
there is the bush on the left-hand side of the horse's.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
That disturbs me. It's white. My eye goes right to it. Let's take it out.
You can do a better job, but you get the idea of it being gone. And based on that, you may want to just darken this side a little bit and up in here. And what a difference just that makes. Look at the difference from open to now. And I mainly want you to think about how do you bring the eye immediately, so that's that instant impact, immediately to what you want the viewer to see. And the darken of the foreground, darken the upper top, brings the eye into the image. And you may darken the side a little bit, things like that, but three-dimensionality.
Okay, I'm going to throw a kink in the whole thing.
Okay,
When a horse is running that fast,
yes.
I think you need more space on the left. It feels, I keep thinking he's going to crash into the side. It's more like it's a portrait the way it's centered.
Yeah.
No, other side.
Oh, I thought you said left, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sorry
So,
about that.
so he has more space.
The
to
other left.
run into.
The other left, yes, I got it. You're right, Lynn.
So I should
and-
have said this before.
Well,
you
there's
talked,
just a
did I?
couple other aspects related to this. Now, I don't want to expand the horse, so this is why I came up with the technique of stretching and scrunching, is that I can change the dimensions of a piece of the image without affecting the sizing of the horse. And that's why I came out with stretch. So we could do that. Now, given that, Lynn, and the great comment, I would also, but I won't do it today because it's a little more sophisticated. I would duplicate the background image, use the motion filter. I'll show you what I would do. I can walk
Yes.
through it. So I'd go to blur gallery. No, that's not what I filter gallery. No. Oh, filter gallery. No, that's not it.
Under blur.
It's under blur.
John,
That last one. You just went too
it-
Yeah, I
John,
had
it was
motion
under
blur.
blur,
Blur.
not gallery. Go to
That's it.
blur and
That's
then
it.
motion to the
Yeah,
right.
that's what I want. That's what I want. And I keep it straight because that's the way the horse is right now, sort of that, like that. Whoop, come on down. You get the idea. And I can make this, I'll move this aside so that you can see the effect that it's giving me. See, that's quite a bit. Do whatever I want.
He's not going that fast.
No, I understand. But as I said, before I would do any of this, so let me walk you through it. I would duplicate the background image so that when I do a blur, a motion blur, and to Len's point, he's not moving that fast, so let's not make it too much, but stay with me a minute because I won't keep it entirely on the horse, which is why I've duplicated the background, because now I can put a mask on this layer. Come over and put black in the foreground, get my paintbrush, make sure it's on 100% normal. And I can then bring back some, however I want, to make it artistic in some way, that he's running and whatever amount of motion I want, where I want it. So I can just do it the way I want and not necessarily exactly what I'm doing here, but you get the idea that once I have that background layer copied and the upper layer blurred, I then can, with the mask, determine how I want it to look. Tell me what you would do with this image, if anything. Anyone?
I would lighten up the rocks.
Which rocks?
Dodge
Foreground.
the foreground rock. Dodge that a bit.
Okay.
Would
I
you
would
use, would you
I
do
would
a
s-
little dehaze before you do any of that?
All right, let's do that.
No, I'm asking you.
Well, you don't know until I try. I mean, I'm not sure at times what something will look like with the dehaze slider, because it's a very touchy slider. So best is to go do it. If you don't like it, then just go back a step in history.
I mean, I know we like the haze in the distance.
Right. And so you can do a selection of the image and then come in and do a dehaze. Let's just see it a little bit here. See it, if I do it this way, that works. But I think it's be better, rather than doing it with the dehaze slider, is to keep the image the way it's looking and just open up some of the foreground here and this haze in through here by using the midtones at maybe 13%. Let's just run it across the foreground a couple times and up in these areas. Remember, I talked about having detail in the shadow areas where the mind thinks it should see something. So I want to do it in there. I'm okay with, for me personally, accepting no detail in these areas back here. But I would like a little bit more contrast in the sky. What do you think about that? Yes,
Yes.
no?
No.
Try it and see.
There you go. Try it and see. Let's do shadows at a very low percentage and run it smoothly across once, and then get the dodge tool on highlights, not midtones, and make it large so that you're doing it smooth across, and open that up. Maybe even down here a little bit in here. Now, what I wanted you to
John?
see, yes.
No offense. Are those sun rays from God or from John Mariner?
No,
Marianne?
those are there. This is not my image, and I did not put those in there. No, good question though. I'd like to see if there's some detail up in this dark area here so that your eye has something to see up there rather than just the very, and that's too much exposure. Oh, that was on shadow, so I want to do midtones. And just open up a little bit here, just enough. And of course, your monitor could be different than mine. Let's look at this from open. You see how dense it looks? And now you've opened up and you give the viewer a way to walk into it and feel part of it. It's that emotion that you want to get from the viewer. Tell me about this one, and what would you do to this image? Right away, what would you do?
Darken the contrast.
We'll get there. Something else first.
I like the Butterfield.
Would you get rid of the second flower on the lower left?
Yes, indeed,
Right.
sure would. Yes. Why?
Well, because the eye goes between the bottom left and the middle top.
Yes, exactly. You have two elements rather than the main element of what you want. And so it's taking the eye away from what you want the viewer really to see. And your eye will bounce back and forth that way. And of course you could clone it. So I'm just trying to do it the fast way so that we see, because the essence of this image to me is not having that in there. Now, once we've taken out, see, here's that, your eye go back and forth. So now we have this. Now, what could we do to change this a little bit more to have
Flip it.
that impact?
Oh, it's straight.
Flip it.
Clone a little from the left.
Clone a little from the left. All right. I don't think flipping, but I'll do that so you see, because I think your eye coming in from the left, you look into this, and this keeps you from going off the right-hand side. I'll crop a little bit more from the right also, because now we are bringing you, the viewer, right into that.
That's better.
John, how about
That clone and
turning
then
it,
crop.
how about turning it clockwise, clockwise 90 degrees?
Yes, that would be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Hmm. That's better.
I would have, or even 90 degrees.
Come on.
Uh,
Mm.
Rotate 90
Yeah,
degree right.
Yeah. So it's horizontal instead of vertical.
I understand, yeah. Don't want to do it that way.
It's image rotate, way up at the top, image. Yeah. Rotate
And arbitrary.
90 degrees clockwise.
Huh.
There.
No.
What do you think?
No.
I think that's
No.
interesting.
Liked it better the other way.
Well, you see what you're doing, and that's wonderful, is you have various ideas of how you should show this, but look what we did from open to now what you are presenting, instant impact. Now, how do we make it more three-dimensional?
Contrast.
Contrast of what?
Just overall contrast of the image of just the flower and the butterfly.
Okay, so one way to do this would be, let's try having select subject, see if it will select that for us automatically. And it did, very good job.
Nice.
Now we'll do select inverse so that we can get the background and put over here at the bottom of the layers panel, a levels adjustment.
Yep.
And move the middle slider to the right, which just simply darkens the
Oh my
background.
gosh.
Now, I would like to bring the flower out a little bit. So how do I get the dancing ants back?
You
Control mask.
Command on and click on
Command
the
or control and click on the mask.
on the mask.
Yes, and it brings them back. Now I want the flower. So I do a select inverse and now do a levels adjustment on that. And I'm affecting only the flower and whatever that insect is. So there.
Crunch it so you don't lose that shading. Mhm.
Crunch what?
Up from the bottom.
Up from the bottom?
Yeah, or crop.
You want to crop? Okay.
Well, I just don't want to lose that shading.
Ah, you don't want to say, so right, you're correct. You would want then to scrunch so that, in fact, I'll make it a little bigger. And what you'll notice when you're scrunching or stretching, that where you start, the handle you start with moves faster, the pixels move faster than the ones away from it. So as I'm moving this, the pixels at the bottom are moving. Now, it's not doing it right. Why not?
You're on the wrong layer.
Yes. Good. Oh,
You
good.
dummy.
Yeah. Plus you need to do a layer stamp on top to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're seeing it.
Do a what?
I need to adjust the one mask here.
What you can do is go to the top layer and do a Alt Control Shift E.
Yeah, but I don't want to create a stamp, because then the changes I would make later won't affect the stamp if I don't do the stamp. But this way, I could just simply adjust that mask there by painting with white on the mask.
John, sometimes if you unlink the mask with from the layer, I don't know exactly how that works, but it does something. It helps in some way. I don't remember what it does though, if it helps in this situation or not.
Yeah, well, in any case, you could correct and do some adjustments on the
Yeah.
image, or you could flatten it and do things. But what I wanted to show you was where you've come, without going into all the details of these, from opening this image with the two flowers. And now what you've done is to
Oh my gosh.
instant impact, no question about what you want the viewer to see, stronger composition, three-dimensionality. And those are the key elements. Look at the difference. So often, us as photographers know what we photographed, and we think, oh, that's that, but that's what I copied. That's what I captured. So why do we change it? Because you want to present it in a different way. And that doesn't mean you didn't capture it correctly. You just are looking at it a little differently and present it. But telling a single, simple, instant impact to an image, especially if you are submitting an image to a competition, if you submitted this image to the competition versus this image, the first way we opened it would not get selected, I believe. But this would have a good chance of getting an award. All right. Oh, I have so many good ones. We won't have time to do them all. All right. Well, this will be a quick one. This is simple. What would you do to this to, again, bring the eye instantly to where you want it to go? And I picked this one because it's such an effective, well done image. But there is an aspect about this.
Crop the top.
Crop it square.
Well, at least let's crop it from the top, and then we'll crop it from the left. But so first of all, if we made it a long rectangular like this, that works better than that. Why? Because of all this empty space up here, you're allowing the viewer's eye to roam in that upper space. Let's try cropping from the left. I'm a little concerned about doing that because of the flower itself being there, but maybe not. Let's just crop in on this a little bit from both sides.
Yeah.
You see,
Well-
by coming in from the right, we're really creating a containment and pushing you into it from there.
Okay.
Scrunch it though and keep that point.
Makes it a blah image.
It's gorgeous.
And then maybe just darken the background a little bit. Three-dimensionality, remember what I was talking about? Watch just by darkening around the edges and on the flower, and then back in here, watch how that frog stands out. Three-dimensionality.
Oh, yeah.
Major. Okay, you guys are doing well.
What about the coloring on that frog? I don't know.
What would you suggest?
I'm not sure. I'm really
Well, then
puzzled.
get off. If you can't suggest, you. What would you?
Well, I don't
Wait,
want to
wait,
go
wait.
around
Wait.
his eyes or anything, because then he'll blend into the background.
No, how would I separate him from the background? Mary?
His
How
eyes.
to brighten the eyes a little bit.
The eyes. Yeah.
Okay, but before we do that, how can I, I almost told you how can I have him separated from the background?
Saturate.
No,
Well, I'll
darken
go
the
up-
background.
I'll go up to,
Darken the background.
I
Yeah.
will, exactly, but how do I do it? I would get the quick selection
Select the
tool
subject.
and come up to select subject,
Mm-hmm.
because that will select him nicely. And then you could add in more aspects of the flower or whatever you want, so that you are now, when I do the inverse, it is only doing the background.
The background.
Yes, and if I want to have it changeable, I do an adjustment layer so that I can change that at any time and can lighten and change it more contrast there. I could make
No,
it
that's better.
lots of
Oh.
things you could do with that. Now, again, how
okay.
do I get the dancing ants back?
Control mask.
Yes, that's right. Now there they are.
And
Select inverse. And put a levels on this to just give a little bit more emphasis to him. Him, her, the flower. Let's see.
How
what
are the
we-
eyes, John?
We will do the eyes.
Mhm.
Now, here's where we were. A look at the three-dimensionality. Now, let's
Yes.
zoom in.
That is better.
Get on the correct layer. I will saturate just the eyes.
John, it
And
makes a big difference when you
Maybe the
control
little bit of
zero.
the
and-
head. Let's look at this. Before, after. That looks pretty neat.
Yeah, that's better.
Impact, remember? Instant impact, watch.
Mm-hmm.
From
Oh,
there
yeah. To there.
to there.
Yes.
This is, of course, the detail of a flower.
No,
Oh
it's
my.
not. No.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes,
No, it's
it
It's a rabbit jumping off a ledge.
no, it's an iris.
And that's a four-legged rabbit. That's right. I can see that now.
And I wanted you to see this because what a creative presentation of a flower. And if you are
Wow.
getting into a competition, these are the kinds of things to look for. We find flowers so beautiful that we then start photographing them. Well, the photograph doesn't present it the way you've seen it in person three-dimensionally. But selecting a piece of the flower, I think this is so cool because it does look like a figure jumping off something. What I would do with this, I saw this was from a competition recently. I would look at taking the burn tool on midtones and possibly just trying to make a little bit more three-dimensionality of this centerpiece from the background so that it stands out a little bit more from that area. And maybe add some color to it, but let me get the top part here. I keep using that word because for me, three-dimensionality makes the difference of how something has instant impact. Let's get the sponge tool on the color there. You know, all that's just a matter of personal taste, so on. How much you want to do and where would you do it, things like that. But let's just take a look at just this aspect of it against how it was opened. Three-dimensionality, there to there. Let's try one more thing.
I think it needs a little vignetting.
Yes, good. And would you do a white vignette or a black vignette?
Oh, let's try both.
You people are so hard to please. I prefer using Adobe Camera Raw to do the vignetting because they give me more sliders and things, and it seems to work a little better for me. So let's do the darkening one first.
Oh,
so you
okay.
do the slider, then you can adjust the midpoint, so but certainly feather it a little bit, which doesn't have such a hard aspect around it. Now the dark looks good. Let's do it the other way. Let's see if we just fade the thing out a little bit.
Oh, I like that
Yeah,
better.
the dark is better, I think.
Much better.
You like the darker better?
I
No.
do.
I prefer the dark.
Let's tell you
Much
what,
prefer the, yeah.
interesting. Let me save
Because-
each. Let me save each so that, well, that'll take more time. You get the
It
idea.
remains part of the flower, is if when you put the white around, it loses that part of the flower.
Yes, but you see the image doesn't necessarily be the flower itself. It's the presentation of it. And it certainly is a flower. And so it's good and bad for judges. A judge might say, oh, that's just too confusing. Next. Or a judge will say, wow, that's really creative. Now that's part of a flower. How did they do that? Oh, yes, that should be in there. Very iffy, but I thought it would be interesting to show you how someone captured this image and what you could do. Show you. Okay. This should be very simple. What do you do?
Flip it. Flip it.
Flip it.
Flip it.
Flip and crop.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Better.
One thing I learned in classes for portraiture is that when you have a person's head, you should have a little less behind the head than in front. So you have a little bit more space in front of the head so that the viewer stays in that area, and the smaller amount on the back of the head on the right-hand side pushes you back into the image. So very interesting. Last thing I'll do in this, I want to go to some others because we're running out of time quickly here. Let me do a levels on it and just increase the contrast just a little bit. And take it into Camera Raw. Let's play with the vignetting to just do a light vignette. Just simple. Now,
Mhm.
just do a little bit of coloring to bring out, to put the
Mhm.
eye, put the viewer where you want them to see it. Let's look, history. Open, flip, crop. Now
Mm.
what difference of what just the simple changes we've made?
Mhm.
Much more effective.
Why highlighting the green? Why not just the yellow? Because
You
now
do
the eye
either, yeah.
goes, now
Yeah,
the eye
either.
goes
Yeah.
between the yellow and the green.
I did it because I wanted to balance this to this green here and this green, but certainly maybe not as much and maybe not at all. And that just, Jürgen, is just
There
a
you go.
personal taste of however you want it to be. Yeah. But you see what we've done from the time that it was open
Mm.
to flipped and cropped, and what a difference that image is from what was photographed initially. All right.
Oh.
What do you think?
Gorgeous.
Crop, flip.
Flip.
Why flip?
This line directs you out of the picture. This
Yes,
directs you
There
out.
you go.
Right. Look at the difference. This has tremendous impact difference. Instant
Yes.
impact of this one, your
To the
eye
other side.
jumps to the light area and right off and out the right-hand side.
Mhm.
Now that light area brings you in, and then you look up this line, this leading line to the church or whatever that is. What else might you do to it?
I'd crop the sky.
It's not sky, it's mountains, but we can crop it.
Just a bit.
Haze it,
but
maybe.
Just
find
a
it a
bit.
Be
bit.
careful
Yeah.
because you don't want to
Yeah,
get
the
into
top,
the top
yeah.
of the building.
Yeah.
Burn the white
No.
cloud on the left a bit. It's a little
Yes,
bit bright.
exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Good, good. So we do mid-tones, not very high, and just darken that a little bit to balance it to what else is there.
Mhm.
And up at the top to push the eye
Mhm.
down into the image more.
That's better. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd bring the top of the image back and then I'd go to the dark part and bring out some of those highlights in the dark. I
Ah,
think you took too much off the top.
yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Okay, let's go back here and we'll darken what we did here
And then darken the top.
and then darken up in the top a bit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. That makes it
Yeah, that's
much
better.
nicer.
I would
Much
go into
better.
Adobe Camera and dehaze and see if the trees come out in the mountains.
Okay,
A
let's give
lot
it a
may
try.
change.
Hmm.
In fact, while we're there, I want you to think of another slider to use. So you want to use the dehaze. What are the solid?
Clarity and texture.
Pardon? Clarity and texture?
Clarity and texture.
Lighten the shadows.
Yes, lighten the shadows.
How about
Bring
a
out
little-
the detail in that foreground shadow area. See down in here?
That's too
Mhm.
much there. That dark place.
Well, it depends on what your monitor is like. Mine,
Oh.
I'm basing it on my monitor, of course.
how about a little vibrance?
Yes. And vibrance saturates the less saturated colors, where saturation increases all the colors. So saturation is increasing just the muted colors, which is fine. Looks good.
John, what about lightening the white of the building?
Yes, let's take it back into Photoshop. Look at the difference of just what we've done so far. Here's the flip.
Jeez.
Now, three-dimensionality, remember three-dimensionality? Look at that.
Hmm.
And then also get rid of the bus or whatever that is next to that little building on the left.
Mhm.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to do this on highlights with Dodge on highlights. and bring out the building. Now,
Oh,
why did you want to bring out the building?
Because it was sort of, it faded off into the distance. You
Yes,
couldn't really
and
appreciate.
that is one of the major elements. That's where we're bringing the eye. So let's open this up a little down here also, and then we'll zoom in.
Yeah, get
And-
rid of that.
Yeah.
And you could also put in a little sunbeam shining on the building.
Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, my God.
And
Don't
I'm
you think
dealing
there's
with
too much-
a very, very low res JPEG. I just get these off the UPIC
Internet.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
better.
thing, and
I would
love it.
take some of the grass at the bottom away. You don't need it. I don't think so.
Well, let's scrunch it rather than crop it. See this little, I think that tree there is sort of neat, but I don't know whether you lose it or not, but let's scrunch it rather than crop, because it'll keep the lines a little bit that way.
Mm. That's better.
Last thing I would do to this, because my eye is tending to stay in this area rather than come down through there, we'll
Mhm.
darken that a little bit.
And then what about, whoops, what about lightening up the path that moves on up?
Well, I'm going to saturate that, which lightens
Yes.
and brings color to it. Maybe that's
Yes.
too much. Maybe that was a little too much, maybe, but yes. See, now I'm leading you right up to that. So
Right.
let's look at the image. Open, flip, and now the change is made. Watch the impact and the three-dimensionality of that image. What a difference.
John,
Right.
the first thing I see is the upper white cloud, and it's great because it is pointing us down to the path and then
Yes.
back up to the church.
Yes, right. May
What
do-
about the lighted area on the right side, bottom right side, is kind of distracting.
It is.
Which one? This down here?
Yes, but down here, down there, that portion is kind of distracting from the
Mhm.
whole image. Maybe
I think it
clone
adds balance because if you get rid of it, then there's too much heaviness on the right.
Yeah, and I don't want to get rid of all of it. I'm just getting rid of some of it and some of these little highlight areas here. See, now we're getting down to the nitty gritties, but I wanted you to
Yeah.
see the overall impact of what you were doing and how, and what you can do with these. In fact, one more thing maybe on saturation is to saturate the blue a little bit up here to add more color. But I just love color. So let's look at the bottom part here, remove that little part and add a little more color to the top. Quite a difference, isn't it? And we didn't do sophisticated kinds of things. We did it rather easily.
John, would you repeat saturation works on all colors, you said? And vibrance?
Saturation works on and increases the color of all the colors in an image, and
Mhm.
vibrance increases only the muted colors in the image.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I don't have time for two. This one is, again, another simple, just tell me some of the simple things you would do to this. Most important to me on this one is simply the presentation. What about the presentation in the sense of this square format?
It
Could
doesn't
make it more
suit,
vertical.
it doesn't suit
Vertical
the
image.
image.
Yes, it really is a vertical image, isn't it?
Mhm.
Now, I don't want to lose a lot of things, so one of the things I would consider doing is scrunching from each side and then making it more vertical, because the essence of this image is that centerpiece.
Mhm.
Having been there, it's a vertical image.
Yeah, well, I've been there also, and yes. Now, just scrunching these makes it better, but there's another aspect to making it feel even more vertical, and the aspects of what is the major focus, use the word focus, of this image. I would say it's this. And if that's the case, let's scrunch the top, because I don't want to lose some of that detail up there.
Mhm.
And then let's change the height of the image just by changing image size and change the height. So disconnect that. And let's just see what it looks like.
Oh,
Yep.
What do
better,
you think of that?
Yep.
better.
What a difference, huh? Look at the open to here.
Mhm.
I feel the impact of the water coming down much more strongly because of its lengthened.
Yes. Let's,
And
how about the color? How about if we increase the color of this? That's really sand coming down through there.
Oh,
Yeah. How about if we change the width just a little more? We reduce the width some.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like it reduced.
All right, one last thing for me. See, I think this is the major element of this. So if we make the bottom part by adding a little bit more to the image, emphasize that portion of the image even more, and stretch that part of the image. Whoop. Grab a hold of the handle, John. Let's look at open, final emphasis. What a difference, huh?
How about darkening the top part of the image?
Yes, good. Yes. Why would you do that?
Oh, you could burn it. You could burn it in.
No, why would you do it?
It's too distracting up at the top,
Uh-huh.
even up there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose any of the detail, but you want to get the eye to where it's most important. And if we even think about opening up a little bit, so put a dodge on midtones at maybe 12, 14, 15%. Bigger. And just open up this a little bit to give the viewer something to see in those areas. Keep them dark, but just give them a little bit of detail.
John,
Yeah.
what are those two items on that ledge there, more toward the middle upper? What
That's
are
a,
they?
that's a piece of log. That's part of a tree.
And
This
what's
is
the other?
Antelope. This is Antelope Canyon, and the opening
Right.
is at the top, and so that stuff
Right.
falls down into it.
What is the thing to the right of the log, that more
I don't
orange?
know, maybe just a little darkness in the
Okay.
where it didn't go through. But let's look again at where we are from the open to this. What a difference. Truly, just think about some simple changes and emphasize what you photographed and what you saw while you're standing there that excited your mind.
Right.
Two more, just hang with me a little bit. This one, just, this will be very simple. I won't go through a lot of things with this, but what would you do with this? Yeah, I think flipping it this way, there's a lot of empty space here, and you could crop, you could make this a square. And when there's a face, she's looking out this way, which is fine. That's very acceptable in the sense that now you're reading, what is she looking at? Oh,
Right.
yeah, that's interesting. And when you flip a portrait, you're now looking in the face and considering that even more. What is it that she's looking at? Oh, yeah. So you just decide on how you want the image to be, but simple changes on this one. And then we could do some other things. But look at the difference of just the impact of having that, and then bring the eye in.
From the expression on her face, it's not something that's simple and ordinary. It's pleasant and exciting, and
Well, she was looking at me and I was in the nude at the time.
Oh,
And she said, what? What the hey is that? Yeah, right. Okay. Hold on. Two more. Keep saying two more, but this one is important.
Oh,
What's
wow.
There's an aspect to this that doesn't work for me. What doesn't work for you?
The mirror.
I wouldn't flip it. I see I'm looking into the flower by looking
Yes,
into the mirror.
exactly. Yes,
And the arch of the flower directs me to the mirror.
yes. How about the fact that it looks flat? How could you change that?
Okay.
contrast.
Contrast, exactly. Let's do a levels and see what we can do. Look at the histogram. See where all of the pixels are? That
Mhm.
means, especially for a black and white. Now this has some color in it, but black and white images really need to have some contrast, not just be flat. And now we're getting that. Actually, I have too much. I'm blowing out some of
Yeah.
the highlights in the flower. And this is a low level pixel image, but you get the idea.
Oh, that helps. Oh.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to see, just the idea of it was just too flat. And then you
Mhm.
bring
You know,
light.
John, in the wall, there's a bright area in the center that really keeps me looking at the flower and the mirror.
Yes,
You think?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost hazy, but it's clear.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you guys are doing good. Oof. What would be your, well, first of all,
Amazing.
let's get it into how you want to see it. So that means composition.
Okay.
How about some cropping?
It's definitely
Image
make
on
it
the
square.
right.
Needs to be square. Both sides.
Okay.
What's
Much
distracting?
better.
Darken the
Branch
background.
in the lower right,
Yeah, we can do that, but what's distracting first?
the branch in the lower right.
Yes, we
Yeah.
would I would
Take
really
that
want
away.
to
Remove
remove
that.
that. I'll do it in a very quick way here, but yes, you really would want to remove that. That's not interesting at all, and it takes your eye away from the main image there.
In fact, you could do something to the middle, although you don't have to do it right now.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time fixing this anymore because I just wanted you to see it without that in there. That's one. Now,
Sure.
what about the background? What could you do to make this much more interesting? Very simple. Well, that's one thing, but more interesting than that.
Put a sky in there.
Yes, put a
Yeah.
sky in. Let's do that. Edit,
Oh, yeah.
Sky replacement.
Use the stormy one.
Yeah, that's working on that one because that's what I had up from the last time I used it. Hold on.
Oh, wow.
See, that's too much because it's taking away from the bird, I think. So let's try some. Let's try this one. But the idea is something that is more interesting than just that. And I can come over and size this a little bit. And I can also move it around a little bit.
John, I have a question. I know Photoshop is getting smarter than me every single day. That's not hard. How, you have a flat monochromatic gray background and Photoshop says, yep, that's a sky.
Because it's all a simple tone. It's all one tone. So it assumes that it's the sky. It assumes sort of a blue sky and just simple tone. Now, here's what I would do. See, it brought them back as layers. So now I have the sky as a separate layer. If I click on that, I can do a levels and clip it. See the clipping here? Clip it to just the sky. And now I can create some contrast.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's better. Wow.
And bring out that. So I have changed the contrast level of the sky, just the sky.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
great.
neat. All right.
Can you add your own sky pictures to this?
Yes, you can. Let me show you how. In fact, some of these are mine.
Yes.
Coming in. All right. See this little drop down next to the sky?
Yes.
Now it has a little gear thing here.
Yes.
Import skies. You click on that, it import skies from wherever you have them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Let's go see what the difference is from here. This is how we opened it, cropped it, removed that branch, and put a sky in. Pretty neat, isn't it? So simple. All right, that's the end for today, folks.